Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be back with another Young Indian, part of the Voice of the Young series. Right now, we have with us Charvi. Let's listen to her. Over to you, Charvi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for having me. It's a pleasure to be a part of this series. And the first time when initially you had reached out to me, I got very intimidated seeing your profile because I don't like to call myself an economics graduate, though I am an economics graduate. And I saw your profile, St. Stephen's, Delhi School of Economics, PhD from MIT. So, Usima, I think I got really intimidated as to why does this person want to talk to me? And then I just saw a lot of your videos and I got to know what you've been doing so far. And I would only say that I'm genuinely grateful to be a part. Because for someone like you to do something like this, taking time out and listening to every individual almost on a daily basis, I think, yeah, I mean, genuinely grateful to be a part. And thank you so much for doing something like that.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah, so before talking about what I aim to, I wanted to share my personal journey so far and my academic journey that has been. I've realized that all the time in my life I've enjoyed doing things which are unconventional in nature, but I've ended up taking the conventional route because somewhere there was always this scare to take up option which is not something that one would actually select. Like just to give a basic example, I in school I've always loved Hindi literature for some reason. Hindi literature was something that I really enjoyed and and wanted to delve deeper into even after my school. But I think that never came into my mind that I could actually take that because the options that you are given usually after 10th was yeah, so science, commerce, or humanities, which is arts. So, and the arts also is something that you would not want to take unless you're a student who really wants to explore that part. Like a good student is usually told to take science and stick up to maybe engineering or the usual conventional route. So the second best option for me was I always enjoyed doing math. And it was one of those subjects which made me realize that I didn't want to do math only to score well, but also because I was genuinely interested doing trigonometry or derivatives, etc. during my school. So I started looking at options that I could take, and then I was told that you can either take science or you can take commerce with maths. And I knew that science was not something that I would want to take at that point because I wanted to get away from the continuous exam sort of things because I was in ICSE and the only thing that I was doing in my 9th and 10th was giving back-to-back exams, the prelims or pre-boards and this and that. And it felt like the learning part of me was dying and somewhere everything was becoming very exam oriented. So so I always wanted to explore economics as a subject because my dad would keep talking about it, and I never had economics in school. So it was more out of curiosity as to what this subject is, what is it that it offers, and why do people keep talking about it. And we had a lot of economic times papers at our house that my dad would keep reading, and he had written a lot of articles in economic times and used to write a lot on economics, trade, and finance. So I think that curiosity led to me. Choosing wanting to study economics after my 10th. And so I had two options now, which is commerce or humanities or arts. Now, because I always liked math, I wanted to take commerce with math because, again, at least in Maharashtra, the state board, the arts doesn't offer maths as a subject with economics. So the only option I had was commerce with maths, and I took that in my 11th and 12th. And I enjoyed. I had a very good time. One, because I came from ICSE to state board, so there was nothing much to study in that sense, and I could very well prepare myself and also enjoy my time in my junior college. And also economics, when I studied, I felt like this is economics, and that was just state board 11th and 12th economics. So it wasn't very complex. It was very simple. It just had some theories and stated some assumptions and this thing. I said, this is very this is something that I would love to study even after my 12th. So I think that instilled the interest. And so it was very random in that sense. It was not very something that I was deeply interested in, which is why I want to do. उस sense में नहीं था कभी. So 11th and 12th, I took commerce with maths. I enjoyed my I enjoyed studying economics, and I was like, okay, I'm okay doing it in my undergrad as well. So it was during my undergrad that I think I realized the importance of economics, or I think I realized the fact that it's a very technical subject, and it's not something that it's not as easy as I thought or as simple as I thought. So the one thing that stood to me about economics was, which made me take it during my undergrad, was one, because I was enjoying it in my 11th and 12th. Two, it was the only subject that spoke about people being irrational, which I had not studied anywhere else. Before that, I had not studied any subject, something which is as practical and as relatable. I think the fact that it was stating a theory, it was stating assumptions, but it also wrote that people are irrational and decision making is not always, um, it's always, there are a lot of other things also that get involved, and you can't totally depend on a theory only, like all the time. So I think somewhere that instilled more interest. Okay, this subject considers the fact that things change and everything is not static in nature. And yeah, that made me decide to take economics during my undergrad. So the first 2 years, unfortunately, COVID happened and everything became online. And I realized that this is not a subject I would want to. I mean, nobody can understand things online, is how I like to look at it. Sorry, are you trying? I was saying.
I agree with you. Online
Yeah,
is very tough. Yeah.
yeah, online, and that was also the time my health started going down. I I was not feeling well, and I think COVID in general had a lot of impact everywhere in our lives, and it made me, not just health wise. I think also because you're spending more time with yourself at home, so there was more time for self realizations. I don't know if I'm using the right word, but a lot of time with your own self, which made you, where you reflect a lot of things, whatever has happened so far in your life, whatever your childhood has been, however things have been, and you finally got time to actually feel it, like bodily and mentally. I think there was a lot of time with your own self. Like, it's always one after the other. You're completing your 10th, you're completing your 12th, you go on doing your graduation, then your masters, and then you get a job, and then you're again in service for almost decades, and it's a very never ending cycle that goes. So I think suddenly getting so much time in hand where you have nothing else to do but to sit with yourself, and जो भी करना है घर पे ही करना है, तो वो that sudden time of too much time for your own self as a young individual, I think it changed my perspective towards a lot of things. And yeah, that was also the time health issues started happening. I was getting frequent infections. I was getting weaker day by day. I'd lost a lot of weight. I'd gotten really thin. And every time I would go to a doctor or a healthcare, I was always told कि कुछ नहीं, आप ज़्यादा सोच रहे हो. There is nothing wrong with you. You're just thinking, you're just overthinking. There is nothing wrong. Everything is fine. You just have vitamin deficiencies and you need to just just make sure that you take that. So I was like, okay, everything, they keep saying that everything is fine, but I am not feeling healthy. I'm not feeling like I'm able to focus on anything.
Mm.
So they kept claiming that, okay, it's anxiety, or okay, it's something that you should consider mental health ke aspect mein. So I started seeking help, and I started saying, okay, maybe this is mental health. Maybe I don't know, maybe because I am anxious. Yes, I'm an anxious person, but so is everybody. But then why is it affecting me to a very large extent where I'm not able to sleep properly? I'm getting jitters at night. And I go to a therapist, and this kept happening because therapist is again very expensive, and nobody talks about that also, which I feel is, I mean, mental health, they keep talking about mental health, but the fact that it's not affordable is also important, because how can a student afford something for like 2.5K to 3K per week, sir? Every week, 2.5K to 3K. I mean, thankfully, I am privileged enough to do. I mean, to spend that much. But I think, anyway, coming back to what I was facing, so I tried therapy, and it helped me. It helped me understand anxiety, depression in general. But I still felt like, I don't know, I'm still not feeling okay physically. but they would always keep blaming it on my mental health and they would not guide me accordingly. Then there came a time where I said, okay, maybe the healthcare is not helping me. Maybe I am only overthinking. Maybe all of this is anxiety only. So you keep asking your own self and you keep blaming your own self because that's how the world is. It gaslights you into telling that this is कुछ नहीं आप ज़्यादा सोच रहे हो आप ये वो है. So I then I went to a psychologist who apparently gives medication for anxiety. I said maybe this is something I have to start taking to make myself feel better. So the psychologist you're paying again 3.5K. So a therapist is different, and then you're again consulting a psychologist, you have to pay 3.5K. So yeah, the money part nobody wants to talk about. Everybody wants to just give ज्ञान about कि ऐसे करो वैसे करो. हाँ उसमें क्या हुआ आप यहाँ पे चले जाओ. A therapist will help you, a psychologist will help you. It's that easy. So I went to a psychologist, and all of this is happening during my undergrad when I'm studying economics as a subject in an online platform. And I have to convince everybody saying that I'm not feeling healthy, so I'm not able to focus, sir. I just need some time out. I go to a psychologist and she says, okay, before starting your medication, let's get another health checkup done. उसके बाद आपका we'll start your medication for anxiety or whatever. And I get a health checkup done, and they say, oh, you have thyroid. I said, nobody guided me. Nobody told me before. She said, you have borderline thyroid, which can be seen in your reports, and you should have started your medication back then. I said, sir, how will I know? I mean, you are supposed to tell me. You are supposed to guide me.
Yeah.
And the only thing they said, नहीं, अभी आप क्या करो? अभी आप thyroid medication start करो, and then you take after dinner you take your anti-anxiety pills, and then so she started giving me everything. I said, everything is very overwhelming right now. You've just told me that I have thyroid. Okay, let me just focus on one thing at a time. Okay, now I have thyroid. This is what I come to know. Again, something that I have to keep going and asking, sir, please, can you help me? No healthcare guided me. My psychologist told me that I have thyroid, and now I have to start thyroid pills. I started taking thyroid pills, and things were thoda sa better. The late night jitters that I was getting, all of that was okay, but I was still facing a lot of issues. I would not feel okay. Gut-wise, I would not feel healthy. There were a lot of issues that I was still facing in terms of physically getting tired, fatigue, not able to do work the way I used to do before. So I started taking pills, and that was the time I started reading about thyroid and what exactly it is, how does one have, and what causes it, what are the root causes, or etc. And then I got very upset because no healthcare guided me. Everybody just kept saying that you have vitamin deficiencies, and they were not really they didn't really tell me about thyroid. So that was the first time I think it hit me. And it hit me in a very bad way that healthcare is not supposed to be trusted always. Like blindly, you can't trust. You have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your own self. It's very, 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 very important. Anyway, so the healthcare thing happened, and that was the first time I got. And then uske baad again, I tried talking to a lot of healthcare people to just understand. I said that I have thyroid, but I'm still not feeling okay.
Yeah.
Again, the reply is, you're taking your thyroid medication, so why should you not feel okay? अबे आप वापस ज़्यादा सोच रहे हो, आप ज़्यादा मत सोचिए उसके बारे में, आप अपना काम करते रहो बेटा. So this was what I always got answers as. So I said, I mean, I come from and I was always told that you're not being patient. You're being very restless. And I said, I've been very, very patient. I come from an Indian classical music background. I've listened to Bade Ghulam Ali Khan Sahab and everybody as a child. So patience is the first thing that you're taught in Indian classical music is Therao.
Right.
So patience naturally to me. And I expect people also to letting. I just didn't like the way the healthcare treated things. It didn't allow me to ask questions. It ridiculed me for asking questions. And that is where I think the disinterest started happening, where I'm like, you're supposed to help me. You're charging me 2.5K, 3.5K every consultation. So in Mumbai, I went to every best doctors possible. I'm not saying that they are bad. Everybody thinks that when I say that healthcare is not helping, I'm saying that they are bad. It's not that. There are good people also, but I'm saying that it's also not helping me. It's a very gray area. It's not as black and white as people think it is. And everything is one-dimensional. Everything is tests and doctor oriented than being patient oriented. You're not listening to me. When I'm saying I'm not feeling okay, you have to tell me. You said I didn't have thyroid. Now I have thyroid. And you're telling me that thyroid, the only thing that you can do is take your thyroxine or thyroid medication, which is before breakfast. So so again, I was not getting guidance and I got really upset. And you are in that zone where you're not able to, because again, for someone as young as me to even convince my parents was difficult, because they are also, the healthcare industry is so deeply conditioned in like the doctor is such a noble profession in our country that what they say is the absolute truth and absolute the thing that you can't disagree with or question it. So even my parents initially were like, why are you getting worried so much? The doctors are saying there's nothing, you just have thyroid, so just take your medication, right? So I'm taking my medication. It's almost been 2-3 months and I'm still not seeing any changes. And I'm still feeling I'm not feeling healthy. And that was the time I had to take it upon my own self to understand thyroid, understand autoimmune conditions, understand what exactly are illnesses and chronic illness. So it just came out of naturally understanding it for my own self. So I started reading about it. I got in touch with this US-based nutritionist who's a functional medicine practitioner. And that lady, she guided me a lot. She told me that
We had an internet glitch, but we are back from it. Parvi was talking about her connection in the US, so please continue.
Yes. So I got in touch with this US-based nutritionist who is apparently very good with understanding PCOD and hormonal issues and thyroid. And that is when I got to know that there are two kinds of thyroid. One is the normal hormonal issue that you get that sometimes women have post-pregnancy and during their periods or during their menopause, that the TSH level goes up, and that's when you have halka sa thyroid and you take your medications to control that. The second one is an autoimmune condition where the immune system, autoimmune means that your own immune system is killing the healthy cells. Your immune system is attacking your thyroid gland. So my condition, for to know that you have a thyroid, if it's an autoimmune thyroid condition, you have to get another test done, which is an anti-TPO, which checks your antibodies. So I had to get that test done to understand if it is or not. Again, to be clear, nobody here told me to get any of those things done. I was only told to take my thyroid medication. Anyway, so I get my antibodies checked and it was very high. And I was told that, oh, you have an autoimmune thyroid condition. So your entire treatment changes then. You have to focus more on the antibodies part and not the thyroid part. So but that is the thing that I liked about functional medicine is that one, it opened up a more welcoming sort of treatment where it was more patient centric, and it made sure that it was more holistic in nature. So it's not that okay, you have a heart issue, so cardiologist, agar it's a uterus related issue, that gynecologist, then if you're a mind related issue, then you have to go to psychologist. It didn't have that kind of barrier. It treats everything as one. It treats everything in a more holistic manner, and it treats everything more on the basis of your diet and overall being. That the kind of food that you eat also has a very, 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 very big impact, especially even in chronic illnesses like autoimmune and to some extent even cancer. Because your cells are being destroyed. So you can't treat it just with a medication and be okay with it. So the whole system changes. But if you go in the traditional healthcare system, they will give you steroids, everything. Then you're again hospitalized for some weeks and weeks, and then they give you a hospital bill of around 1 to 2 lakhs. A surgery nowadays costs almost up to 1 lakh, sir.
Yeah.
You have to have a health insurance for getting yourself treated. That is how, and we talk about everything needs to be you need to get in touch with doctors only. You need to get in touch with healthcare system only for help, but it's not always helpful. It's not always the affordable option for many. So I understood So I got that exposure of how I could deal with it. So I started. So that was the only thing that I liked about functional medicine, the fact that it was being more patient centric. It was holistic. It treated women's health also in a very individualistic set. So again, this is something that I can have a separate podcast on about women's health and how it goes here, because I am someone who gets extremely painful period cramps. And everything is again connected, sir, because I'm not been feeling okay. The cramps are everything also. Everything shows you that the body there's something wrong in it. And I was again always told that there's nothing, you're just overthinking about it, and there's nothing. Some people get pain, some people don't. So if you're getting pain, then you just have to take your painkillers. So this was what the guidance has always been here in the healthcare. So functional medicine I changed my entire diet after that. I stopped sugar, I stopped gluten, maida, and everything. And you go into more millet-based foods, and you consider good fats and how good fats have an impact in your body. Good fats include ghee, your nuts and everything, badam, walnuts and everything. And I did see a lot of change after that. I felt more fresh. I felt more mindful. I'm still struggling. It's a journey. I'm not saying that I've healed completely. I'm still struggling and dealing with a lot of things. But I think the support that I got from functional medicine was more friendly, holistic, and supportive than the traditional healthcare system. And I like to share this with everybody all the time, because that has how the journey has been with me.
All right. Well, that's a very, very open and honest exposition. You've told us the truth, which people would not be willing to share, but I'm glad you have shared it, because you're not alone, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
You're not alone. And to hear it from somebody who's been through it is really, and has mostly come out of it, is quite an inspiration if you are struggling with the same thing.
Correct.
Hearing from the patient who has the time to explain it rather than the doctor who has no time to explain it makes
Exactly.
all the difference. I think it's correct. I agree with you. So that's great
Yeah.
that you have made an effort and you have found the way it can work for you. And that is really impressive and
Thank you.
really gives us, also others, an understanding of how the medical system fails some people. It works for some, but it fails others. And we should keep that in mind, that it is not a jadoo. It is not jadoo. It doesn't work. The jadoo. All right. Anything else you want to tell us?
No, I think this was mostly it. I just wanted to share the fact that being open-minded is so important, and getting guidance from someone who's also open-minded is as important as anything else, because I think then it feels like you can share your mistakes also with them. But if you share with someone who has a very rigid mindset, which says that नहीं ऐसे ही करना पड़ेगा, ऐसे नहीं होता तो आप मतलब the healthcare nowadays, when I meet doctors, they have this kind of attitude that they sit with, sir. They charge you 2.5K at least for one consultation. And then when you get into, so they have this kind that कुछ भी कर लो आप फिर आप हमारे पास ही आने वाले हो. There is nothing that is going to work. So I think they in general discourage you in a very bad sense. When I go to functional medicine, they never told me not to go to doctors. They would always still tell me, if you still think this doesn't work, you can go to traditional healthcare. But that doesn't happen in traditional healthcare. You see, most of the doctors will not support functional medicine. They will only say that ये सब कुछ नहीं, होम्योपैथी भी कुछ भी नहीं, हम everything you will have to come to, I mean, at the end this only works, or this is something that will actually help you at that moment. So I think that mindset is not something I would support, and I would agree with. And I just want everybody to be careful about and make sure that when they spend money, it should not be, I mean, they should feel okay. At the end result is the patient should feel okay. If you're not feeling okay, let whatever people tell you. I think you have the control, and you can hopefully choose options and explore options which are not restricted to only traditional healthcare.
Yeah, but I would say that in your case, it's a real tragedy. The thyroid is a well-known issue. It's not
Correct.
something that is hidden or has to be found. A normal, conventional allopathic doctor knows
Hmm.
all about thyroid. And
Yeah.
it is one of the first things that they should check. And then to diagnose it into different kinds. This is not rocket
Correct.
science.
Which makes it even more scary that the fact that in a city like Mumbai, where I stay in,
Yeah,
the reality is still so messed up. Like we
yeah,
still don't doctors who are guiding me properly.
yeah.
And I'm saying, okay, now you're telling me about thyroid, but again, you're just focusing on the TSH part. You're not guiding me properly about the entire thing, about the
Yeah.
fact that I have an autoimmune condition, about the fact that there are
Mm,
other things connected
mm,
to it.
mm.
So that is something I'm coming to you to teach me, sir. You have to teach me, ma'am, about everything. You give me a holistically explanation about what exactly the thyroid gland does. But every time you telling me that कुछ नहीं आप ज़्यादा सोच रहे हो, it just makes you feel more
Irritating. It's irritating.
yeah, you are just
Frustrating.
gaslighting
It's
or
frustrating, because
frustrating.
it's totally, yeah, I agree. It's totally frustrating.
And as
When,
a victim and a patient, for you to listen to all of that and then you only doing and trying to see your best, I'm saying you're making it more difficult for me than helping me.
okay, all right. Anything else you want to add here?
No, but I just want to say that it just tells that how important the basic things are in our life, right? Like the healthcare and the legal system. Because I am someone who I graduated in the year 2023. Post that, I did a few internships for almost like a year, which was mostly as a research intern in one was at CSBC, which is Center for Social and Behaviour Change. One was with Deloitte, and the third one was AIP, which is Accelerate Indian Philanthropy. So somewhere I think I've always worked in areas where I like to give back to society because I felt deeply with all of these things that I've went through. And after my graduation in economics, I realized that I was also interested in psychology and how humans work and how their
Mm,
brain functions. But I was not sure if I wanted to do purely psych or purely economics post my graduation. So I started looking at options where I had economics as a subject and also psych. And that's when I got exposed to behavioral econ, behavioral science. And I found that a very interesting and also a very growing field nowadays.
mm,
So, um, and we had this session of Center for Social and Behaviour Change at our college, where they introduced us to behavioral science, and that interested me a lot. So I made sure that I was in touch with them, so that after my college I can get through an internship with them, and I did, and I worked on a few projects with them. Though it was an online internship, and I was mostly doing primary research and part of projects where I was just helping in editing the questionnaires
mm,
and editing the survey information. But I think it that was a very interesting
mm,
experience that I had. We worked on a project called EBF, which is exclusive breastfeeding, which
mm,
mainly focused on educating underprivileged or low income groups women about the importance of breast milk
mm,
as big. So uske liye I had worked on the questionnaires and editing them and helping programming
mm,
the questionnaires in this survey CTO, which is basically something that the enumerators will use for the survey. So some of those basic work, but that made me feel like I want to do something in this sphere, in the public policy space, in the scholar space where I can delve more into understanding behavioral sense and how I can use that as a tool to help people.
okay. Wonderful.
So yeah, that has
Okay.
been
Okay. So shall we end it here today?
sure.
Okay, good. I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Till then, bye everybody.